Welcome to Basic Weaving lesson number 2. As you can see, I've gotten to the end of my first piece of yarn, which was 2 arms long. And now I'm going to untie the yarn from my tapestry needle. I only tied it once so I wouldn't have a hard knot to untie. And looks like I have a hard knot anyway. So just play with it for a minute. There it goes. There it goes. Now set my needle aside and I'll weave the end of my yarn through my warp strings using my fingers, just picking up every other warp string and putting the yarn underneath every other string, making sure that this pattern is opposite the pattern of the row before. And I'll weave this to the bitter end. There. Now, I'll put a new piece of yarn on my tapestry needle, tie it once, and I'll restart close to where I left off. From where I ended here, I have to finish that row, but I want to finish that row with the same pattern I started it with. So I'm going to count back 5 from where I ended. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My yarn is under that string, so I'm going to copy that pattern. I'm going to go under that same string, under, over, and I've copied the pattern. My needle is doing the same thing as the end of my yarn. It's under, over, under. And I'm going to keep that pattern going so I can finish that row. And when I finish the row, I'll pull the yarn until the end comes up to the first string I went under, right there. Now you can see that the two ends, my old end and my new end, are overlapping a little bit like this. Now I can push them down together and no one will ever know where you stopped or started because there won't be an ugly knot on the surface of your weaving. You may get a little bit of fuzzy from the new end, but that's okay. If you don't like looking at it, try sticking it underneath your weaving, or wait until your weaving is complete and then snip it off with little scissors. Now, my students won't do that themselves. They'll ask me because I'm the only yarn cutter in town when we're working on our first weaving. And then you just continue to weave, remembering that at the end you have to go completely around that last warp string. So I ended up under it, I go back over it. And I'm going under one, over one, under one, over one, all the way across, pulling the end up until it touches that first warp string. Pull the other end down so you have a hill and push it down. If you have a little loop here that you don't like, just pull it until it touches the string. Don't pull too hard. If you pull too hard on this end, this string will start coming in. If your strings come in on the sides and touch each other, then you have to take your weaving out until they become separated at the ends. Okay, so that's weaving lesson number 2. And each time you finish a length of yarn, you restart the same way. Count back 5, copy the pattern, finish the row.